Welcome to my favorite week at River City Media. I don't know why I can never figure out where my face is in this camera. But we're here for 3 hour sports tonight. The best hour of podcasting in the world. Maybe that's a stretch, but in my world it is.
We're not the worst.
The what?
We're not the worst.
We're not the worst.
Cereal's pretty good.
This is not my fantasy football team. I want to make welcome my two stars of the show. First, weighing in of about 185 pounds from Southern California, the baddest man in the world, Robbie Mehta. Hit us with some knowledge, brother.
I'm just fired up. LeBron's coming back. The Dodgers, they've been better. And we got the draft in 2 days, which is, can't wait for that, man. If you hear him, the little one, he's like, bro, the draft, I can't wait either.
I got it, man. Hey,
yeah.
Robbie, do you remember him saying he didn't want to talk NBA tonight? The first words he's got is NBA. First words out of his mouth.
My bad.
So, from Deckard, Tennessee, via Winchester, via the University of Tennessee, via Cherokee Boulevard, Davis, Kessler, and Davis, Robbie Davis joining us.
Glad to be here. I got a story for everyone about my frustrating weekend, but I'll save that for when we get to it.
Yeah, that one could be moved up at any time. I actually have popcorn right down here on the floor for that meltdown. I don't know if it's a meltdown coming, but it's definitely going to be interesting. So, guys, we are 2 days away from our draft special, starting here at 7:30 on iLogic Media, River City Media, and anybody else that'll put it up. Of course, we'll be available on the Marion Messenger, and I'm very excited about it. So let's start with the subject of the draft. As we headed towards this draft, if we get closer, we found out some things have been revealed. And I don't think it's a big deal, but one thing I was going to ask you about, what do you think of Justin Fields revealing that he has epilepsy? Do you make anything of that? Or you think he was advised to do that? Robbie, we'll start with you. Why do you think he would come out with that information?
2 words. Voided contract.
Okay.
You better disclose your medical condition when you're dealing with these teams. It is better to put it, if it costs you, say, a few $100,000 on the front end, you drop a few spots.
Right.
Last thing you want is getting the lawyers involved and saying that with 2 lawyers on the show. But that was my first thing. Like, hey, if I'm advising him, no, you lay it out there, because I mean, look at Tua last year. All it takes is one team. Epilepsy is a lot better. I'm not a doctor, but I'd rather take someone with epilepsy with 2 working hips than somebody who you don't know if you don't know how their body's going to react. So that was just my off the cusp kind of thought process. And just I'm so pumped about the NFL draft, and I know a lot of people make fun of it, my wife included, about how obsessed I get about watching these kids walk across the stage. I will say I think I am going to miss the inside the homes that we had last year, but yeah, it's going to be good to see everybody at once. But that was my first thoughts on the epilepsy and why it was disclosed.
So just so everybody knows, before I go to Robbie and Raj and I will probably be set up outside of our normal position. We've been told we can have the TV on, just we can't hear it. So Raj and Robbie and I will be probably watching the coverage as we broadcast, but you won't see the screen up. But trust me, I know Mel Kiper. Mel Kiper's not been good in 20 years. So, Raj, what was your take on Justin Fields and his reveal?
I mean, I have the same education as Robbie. He's still practicing. I'm not. I agree 100%. This is not something where when you get millions of dollars on the line and the fate of a franchise that you keep secrets or you don't reveal everything out throw everything out on the table. I think he had episodes when he was a child, but I don't believe anything. It's been managed since then. So that, and maybe if he falls behind a dude from Division II North Dakota State, he's got an excuse. But totally agree with Robbie as well about last year. The best part was those genuine home reactions and the tears and everything. That was pretty amazing. But I think it's strictly contractual, agent advised, smart move.
So let's talk about the quarterbacks right there. It brings us to us. Robbie, you had done some draft prep getting ready. We won't go into everything tonight, but I think it's fair to say we need to preview these guys. So I have 5 guys that I think are top tier quarterbacks that we'll see go in at least the first 15 picks. Would we agree? Really, no.
Oh, yeah.
These guys are not going below that. So that would be Trevor Lawrence, who is everybody's presumptive number 1 overall. Zach Wilson, who's everybody's presumptive number 2 to the Jets. Then the 3 quarterbacks I think are in play at number 3 for the 49ers in Fields, Lance, and Jones. The Adam Schefter reported that it's just Lance and Jones. I think it's Jones, but that doesn't matter at this point. If you've got to pick Robbie Davis, where do you think you're going with it?
At number 3?
At 3.
Okay. I was on the road a lot today, and I kept hearing all these. So this is the thing that bothers me about where we've come as far as breaking down these quarterbacks. So of those 5, so that you want to say, oh, Wilson hasn't played anybody, Lance hasn't played anybody. Honestly, none of these 5 played, maybe besides BYU, none of these people played any games that they weren't the best teams with the best talent on the field. Ohio State didn't play it until they got to Alabama. They didn't play a team they weren't better than that had better talent. Same with Mac Jones. I mean, I wouldn't be able to complete as many passes, but I could beat Tennessee with that talent around.
Might be a bad reference there.
Well, and so I think they're all pretty much unproven as far as what comes into how it translates to NFL. As much as NFL is starting to mimic college, with that, it's a long way of being said. I think Mac Jones should be have that check to Joe Burrow's written and have it ready to be sent out, because Joe Burrow, how he played in the NFL, is going to make Mac Jones a lot of money, because I think the same kind of 1-year wonder. Hey, even though he played really well in replacing 2 seasons ago, or however you want to count the seasons, whenever 2 got hurt, Mac Jones came in and played really well. And I think, to me, in the NFL game, what I look for most from a college quarterback is completion percentage and accuracy, because they don't get – there's no open windows in the NFL. You have to throw them open. You can't just say – there's no, hey, this guy's running down the sidelines. I'll just throw as deep as I can and peace out. You have to throw people open. So I look at accuracy. For that reason, if I'm sitting at 3, I would go Mac Jones.
And I think I would get to the same conclusion. And I'll add more to your thoughts. I think they're good. But before I get to mine, Raj, where are you at on this 3 pick?
Jones is the safer pick, right?
Right.
You don't really know entirely what you're getting with Lance. This is a sore spot for me. The Jets, again, and it's not just my USC bias, they trade an outstanding player who had nothing around him in Sam Darnold for Zach Wilson, who's almost a carbon copy. Literally, I think the best team they played and the best defense was Coastal Carolina, the Chanticleers. And if you go back in his history and look at the high-ranked opponents that he's faced, I believe there's been a noticeable difference. Lawrence, obviously, Mac Jones, he puts it on the field, man. I would take him pretty darn high, if I were any of those teams. But I do believe that Jones will be ahead of Lance. But let me ask you guys, are we sure it'll be all 5 within the first 15? I think this. Now, that being said, the teams that don't need a quarterback in the top 10, they are styling, as they say in Southern California. Actually, nobody says it anymore, but they're styling, bro. But like Atlanta, Cincinnati, Miami. Now Atlanta may go after a replacement. Detroit, they just got Goff. Dallas, there's going to be teams jumping up there because more teams than not need a quarterback. So those teams, I think there's going to be a lot of activity. So I guess I kind of contradicted myself in that teams will trade up. But if you look at Dallas, the Giants, the Chargers, and Philly up, 10-13, I think those guys are all pretty set. So it's a crapshoot either way, whether it be the player.
I think you're right, but I think there's a couple of teams I think are coming up to that area. One of those being the New England Patriots. The other one maybe the Chicago Bears. Robbie, what was your thoughts on that? I think you believe there's going to be a lot of draft day moves.
Oh yeah, and I mean, I think it's you guys are spot on, and the NFL is a quarterback league. It is built for that. If you don't have a quarterback, once they change the rookie wage scale, hell, if you're not drafting one if you don't have your guy, if you're not drafting one every year, I don't know what you're doing. You're just you and your coaching staff's just on the GM, the coach, everyone's on the hot seat immediately. I mean, honestly, if I'm Miami, I know Tua have much. I look and see who's available, and I take some calls, and I say, let's make a decision. And it's like, look at what Arizona did. They drafted two quarterbacks in a row, two top 3 quarterbacks in a row, and hit on Kyler Murray. And you got to keep doing that until you get it right. Because if you don't get it right, you're in what I like to call Titans land, 8-8, 9-7, 7-9, and that's the worst place to be in the NFL.
So to your point, Raj, as a Raiders fan, were they ever a point that you thought, even with Derek Carr on the roster, or do they need to go get another quarterback? Maybe a year ago or 2 years ago. I mean, there's a lot of point to that. I think the Carolina Panthers at 8 could be looking quarterback and already trading for Darnold with a second and a fourth. Do you just keep drafting till you get it right?
Amongst Raider fans, this is a sore subject. It's actually the most contentious. Some people call him garbage. I personally waffle. I think ever since, 2 or 3 years ago when they were 12-3 and he broke his leg in the last game or the second to last game, he's been Captain Happy Feet, just make some seriously ridiculous decisions. I think I saw a stat the other day that it was like Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, and Derek Carr had a certain amount of touchdowns, passes completed, and so few interceptions. Like he was a top 3 guy. And statistically, you can win with Derek Carr, but is he a winner? And I personally think the Raiders have way more needs aside from quarterback. I don't like what Green Bay did last year. I mean, they must love the dude, what's his name, from Utah State? Yeah, but, I mean, they had other needs too, and look where they had finished up. They could have had maybe one or, a first-round guy. May have been the difference for them. When we were talking about the Patriots trading up, I keep thinking, I know we talked about potential draft trades, but I keep thinking that the Niners are going to make something, maybe send Jimmy G to New England. Maybe for a 3rd and a 4th, a 2nd and a 3rd, whatever they're asking. It's not the first time this has been hypothesized. I wouldn't give a second to that dude, but I mean, with that offensive line, now after getting Trent Brown for nothing from the Raiders, that offense that he knows, I mean, that would be my guy.
Well, there's some truth to that. And there's some truth to Bill Belichick loved the guy too. Yes. So there's some truth to that. So
can I interject the question for you guys? Because yes. I was just thinking, for those that don't know, Randall's a Falcons fan. Roger says Raiders fan. I'm a Titans fan. So we are currently, maybe not the Falcons have issues, but we are currently, but the Falcons have been there in the most recent past. We are currently in this. We're a playoff team, but not good enough to win it all. And so, are you better off saying, "Hey, let's rebuild," or we're paying Tannehill a lot, we're paying Henry a lot, and I'm like, well, we're not good enough to win the Super Bowl. So are we just stick? Are we? I mean, we don't have a window, but we're acting like we have a window. And so, is that better, or is it just, hey, let's just suck until we get the winner, until we get the guy, and then build around? What do you guys think about that?
Let me answer first, Raj, and then I'm going to leave y'all for a second. Our feed is bad, and I need to reset the board. So I'll be gone, y'all, while you talk. We said it was a possibility. I'll be back within a minute, but I want to answer that just real quick. As a Falcons fan, I feel like the most critical mistake the Atlanta Falcons made was the year after the Super Bowl, they overpaid Devontae Freeman. They overpaid Matt Ryan. I don't ever say they overplayed Julio Jones because he's the face of the franchise, but they did pay Julio Jones. I think the Falcons made themselves bad, Robbie, by trying to reward players for a great season. They ended up almost destroying the franchise. And I'll be honest with you, and I've been very vocal among our group that I want Kyle Pitts, but I also think Kyle Pitts singles a complete rebuild for this program or for this franchise. That I think within 3 years, Matt Ryan's not taking snaps. Mike Davis is a short-term decision at running back. But I would rather be, and I think the Falcons are going that way, I'd rather be 2-14 than 8-8 for 1 year than 8-8 for 4 years. So resetting the server. I'll be right back, guys. Sorry about this, everybody.
No worries. Of course. My thoughts are that it depends on the offense, the offensive line, on the people around you. I know that's a cop-out answer. I probably wouldn't have said as much. Last year, I didn't think, I'm a Pac-12 guy, that Justin Herbert was going to be, I mean, after watching at Oregon, I did not think he would do what he did. He had a guy like Keenan Allen. I mean, that was crazy. But in the case of the Raiders, more of a ground and pound, downfield offense. That's kind of tough for a rookie to come in and manage that. So, again, with Carr, I think they can win. That's the point being, is that it's just an impossible question because we've been in 8-8 land for 3-4 out of the last 5 years, and for the last 20 years, that's a marked improvement, which is pathetic. But I mean, it is definitely contractual now. I mean, you're absolutely right. Yeah. That at a certain point you've got to cut bait. And Randall was talking about the Falcons. The Raiders overpaid Derek Carr after 1 good year, and because of that, they couldn't pay Khalil Mack, a bunch of others. They re-signed. I mean, they signed a ton of free agents. They were just garbage, spending way too much money. By the way, when was the last big money free agent cornerback to do anything? I think it's always been a letdown. Yeah. But it's all about flexibility. And if you look at those teams that are good consistently, like New England, Green Bay, others, Pittsburgh, full roster and cap flexibility every year. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, and before I get all for my Titans fans, I know we were in the AFC Championship 2 years ago, but no one thought we were going to win. Even with the lead at halftime against Mahomes, we're not good enough to beat them, unless there's an injury or something else. We're just not. But
sorry about that, guys. It was a crazy. I had to reset the server for just a second. We should be up and running now with much better feed.
We were just talking about how, as a Falcons fan, you guys have the unique perspective to know what it's like to win the Super Bowl and lose the Super Bowl, all in like a 4-hour window.
Yeah, you do. And you also realize those windows are short. I mean, the Chiefs, we see win one, then the Chiefs lose one, but then you see them start letting people walk, start letting tackle.
Well, look at Seattle. Look at Seattle. They won on Russell Wilson's rookie contract. Once he gets paid, there's not enough money to go around. The Chiefs are actually really smart. I mean, they paid Mahomes the king's ransom, but they got him locked in now. And once these new TV deals come in, these salary caps get raised, they may have timed the system right. We shall see, though.
We shall
On
see.
top of that, you look at the Chiefs. They did let a couple offensive linemen go that they drafted that were due for big money, but they turned around and filled that spot with arguably just as good, if not a better player, than Orlando Brown from Baltimore, another super trade savvy, flexible team. So, I mean, that's what smart teams do. If they let them walk, they usually try to fill that spot in something more friendly. You know, the Raiders, I hate going back to them. They let a couple guys, including Rodney Hudson, the center, who is amazing, Gabe Jackson, they let him walk. And I guess that sort of tends to, if they were smart, which they're not, they draft OL. I don't think this draft is as deep OL-wise. I think you can get just as much value down later. Speaking of the Raiders, I mean, this is another thing, like I said about Green Bay, fill your needs now because you don't know how long your window or how wide your window will be. If that makes sense.
So
fill your needs.
Before we get off of quarterbacks real quick. So we had the first three gone. That leaves our buddy Chris Adams is watching this week after we gave him a hard time for not watching. That leaves Lance and Fields on the board. Do you two or either one of y'all have a preference if you were the GM that you would go after? Just Lance versus Fields.
Yeah, I'll go first. I'm going to contradict myself here. Justin Fields had a lot of weapons around him, and I saw a kid who was tough but overhyped. I saw a kid that was kind of inconsistent at times. That being said, he played top competition. I know you guys have your Big Ten issues, but I think Lance is probably the same player with less risk, even though he comes from D2. Health-wise, you know, he seems to be they're both very intelligent kids, but you know, Lance had to prove it on the field to get his spotlight, and Fields was spotlight since the time he was 8. So I know not necessarily fair. You know, I don't mean to condemn Fields at all, but I think Lance, if I were between the two, I would go Lance.
Robbie?
This is Ohio State is developing very much a Florida, FSU, Miami reputation for having good college quarterbacks and not cutting it in the pros. And I wonder if this is going to be held against Fields. I couldn't turn down. So I'm weary of Division II or Division whatever they call it these days. Players, you're a 5-star for a reason. You've got the potential. He's got the speed. If I'm rolling the dice, I think you're rolling the dice on either of them, kind of at some point. So I'll take Fields, and he looked great against Clemson. Got hurt. I would have loved to see him at full strength. They weren't beating Alabama regardless, but I would have liked to have seen him play in that game full strength. But tough kid. It seems like the one thing that the red flag I would have, and we've talked about this, is not cutting it at Georgia and then transferring instead of your fire and all this. And so that I would want to know a lot about why and what made him give up instead of fight.
I agree with that, and you know, you wonder if there were promises made and not fulfilled. And
you're not alleging that Georgia may do some things under the table or that's not on the up and up, are you?
Absolutely. Says the guy that went to school with the McDonald's bag program. But that's going to be a fun thing to watch play out. And I'm going to make a little bit of a prediction here. One of these guys slides past where we think that they might, you know. And if he starts sliding, that's when I think you might see somebody like a Steelers team or a Bears team come up from deep in the draft if they believe in somebody and take him. So
there's going to be movement. I anticipate there's going to be a lot of movement on draft day.
It's going to be a fun draft, and of course you can see we've set a 2.5-hour mark. If Robbie doesn't
like Max Headroom
too much, we might go 3 hours. We'll just go till we're done. So We're going to have fun with it.
What's your FCC fine budget? That's what we need to know. We'll just have a little donation jar and a little ticker.
We need to go ahead and put the next year's league winnings into a container. You know what? I'll send it to Chain. I'll let Chain pay it. So, before we go any farther, though, let's go. We've always said we're going to do a fun segment in this show. We spent about 20 minutes on the quarterbacks, and we're going to talk a lot about them on Thursday. I want to go back to a bloody quarterback draft. And, Robbie, this one's going to hit home for you Titans fans. 10 years ago, we had what we thought was a pretty good quarterback class. 3 people at the top of that class in Ponder, Locker, and Cam Newton. Also in that class, Andy Dalton went early in the second round, who was a faller. Most people had him as a solid first rounder. That class also featured a guy that's been a lightning rod in the NFL. But I will say this. He beat my Falcons in an NFC championship game. And at one point, I thought Colin Kaepernick was playing at a higher level than any of the other quarterbacks in this talk we're about to have. So, Locker, let's start there. He came in 7th overall pick, super hyped. Okay, let's start with Cam. Let's go there first. Cam's coming off a national championship and a Heisman Trophy. Has Cam Newton's career lived up to the hype, or is it disappointing?
I mean, he's played in 1 Super Bowl, lost it. Had the 15-1 season.
What an MVP.
MVP. Yeah, I mean, I think if you draft a quarterback number 1 overall and you get to a Super Bowl, and they ran into a really, really good Denver pass rush. Did he live up to the hype? I mean, he was never going to do what he did in college in the NFL. There's bigger guys than him at every turn, even playing in the SEC. I think with his character issues from Florida, getting kicked out of Florida, transferring to JUCO, then going to Auburn for a year, dominate. There were some questions about his ability. Yeah, if I'm a GM, I can live. Hey, I picked him number 1, got to Super Bowl, won an NFC championship, have been really good for a decade. I think you could live with that.
Raj?
I think our feed is a little rough. It sounds like a HAL 2000 or whatever. I have not learned to because I caught like a third of that. I love Cam Newton.
Well, do you rate
Carolina,
Cam Newton's career as a success?
On the map.
You heard me, Raj?
I didn't catch that. Did you get it, Robbie?
I think he said.
I hear now.
Oh, okay, you can hear us, both of us, or just me?
We'll let
I wonder
Raj
if this is
work on
my feed now because it's cutting out.
Very bad. Try logging off and logging back in, Raj. Raj?
Dude, I hear nothing. I just hear like.
Let's see.
Maybe I should bounce and come back in.
Yeah.
Yes.
Try that.
Yes.
Try that.
All right, Robbie, while he's doing this, there's some truth to what you said. And all kinds of feed issues tonight. Sorry, folks. There's some truth to what you said. But let me add, Cam Newton, I thought, would be everything you said was true. But I also thought maybe he would last a little longer because he was 6'6", 6'5". 245 pounds. I really thought he was built for the long haul. But did he just have that run where he was really good for a limited period of time? He got beat up bad in Carolina, really bad. He were the he is it true in your head he was the leading running back and the quarterback in Carolina for many years?
Oh yeah, I mean he was the only weapon they had. You had Greg Olson there for a while, tight end, but I don't care who you are, how big you are. If you let your quarterback, who's in charge of throwing the ball, run and get hit over and over and over again, they're going to get hurt. And those turf toes, ankles, all those things add up. And so I think that, he lasted about as long as, you think he's going to, and what he lasted 2 contracts. I mean, I'm sure that's what they drafted him to kind of last.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. The speed's a little bit better, but
Am I the only one with our fine Chattanooga internet? Tell me y'all didn't go cheap and go Comcast. Well, while we're waiting, I'll go ahead and I think we were going to jump to Jake Locker, and I will give my picks on Jake Locker, or my take on him. And it goes back to completion percentage in college. The guy playing in the Pac-12 at Washington completed less than, or either about or less than 50% of his passes in college in the Pac-12 against bad defenses. This is a franchise that picked Pac-Man Jones at number 6, I believe, and I think Jake Locker was a worse pick. He was never going to be successful. If you can't complete 50% of your passes in the Pac-12, then you cannot be a successful NFL quarterback. And that's what the Titans picked in the top 10. Now, granted, there was a lot of other bums in this class also. Randall has a higher opinion than Andy Dalton than I do, but mainly mine is personal because I had him on a very, very good fantasy team. And with just a little better quarterback play, I would have won the championship. But Andy Dalton could not throw the dang ball well enough to A.J. Green to get me a championship. And so I will never be in Andy Dalton's camp because of said reason.
Yeah.
I'm happy to just keep talking right now.
All right, guys. Well, I'm around 100% now with our feeds. But I agree. Andy Dalton was, who is the best quarterback in this class? It's Cam Newton. Locker completely stopped the place up. Kaepernick was the next guy probably in line. And then, really, and maybe if Rod gets back in a minute, but this class came in, Locker was a sure thing.
And I don't think he was a sure thing. I think that's just what the networks want is quarterbacks to be the next big thing. So they get a bunch of attention. Christian Ponder, he wasn't that good either. Kaepernick, he's the other one of this class that went to the Super Bowl, ended up losing. And then, am I getting a scratchy echo for you?
I agree. It's the whole class. minutes and right now, and we keep thinking that all of a sudden we robbed it. I'm going to try to relink Raj back in. I'm going to be off camera, but I'll keep talking. I'll be you're on the money. I think it's a better class.
Sorry for the delay, guys. We're having some issues. This is podcasting, still in COVID, I guess.
We've never had these issues before. That's the problem. We know what we're doing. That we've always had good. We've always had great signal. And now all of a sudden we're really struggling.
You're sounding a little better to me.
All right. Let's see if we can get Raj back in. See if this is okay. When Raj shows back up, how am I sounding now? Because I went totally cellular.
I think you're better.
Okay. If we have another failure, we just have to end it tonight. It is, and there's a Comcast car out in front of my house right now, so that might be a problem. This class is deeper, Robbie. I really think this class compared to that class, I think with some people reaching in that class, especially with Ponder. I never understood Ponder and how he got there. Outside of his wife being an amazing sports broadcaster, Ponder was really never the pick to me, you know. I had my doubts about because, again, it was his accuracy that concerned me. Now, we'll get Raj back in. I just sent him the link on something else. But before we get off of the subject, I want to
Well, and Blaine Gabbert was a horrible pick also. The Jags picked him, right?
Yes. Yes.
And I can't wait on Thursday to talk about Urban Meyer and the Jags. Well, actually, can I just ask a question right now that I just thought about today? And this, we don't have to answer, but let's just be thinking about it, maybe table it. So right now in the NCAA, you have, and I may be missing this off the top of my head. We weren't planning on talking about this. So we have Saban, Dabo, Jimbo, Orgeron, and Mac Brown. Those are the 5 active coaches of the championship.
Yes.
Am I coming through horrible? All right. Mic check.
Better. Testes. 1, 2, 3.
I can hear you better. Raj or Randall?
Hey, I'm here. I'm going to a different location. I won't be able to video, but if we can get some good stuff. Testing. Can everyone hear me now?
It's better.
Okay. Testing 1 2. Testing 1 2. Testing 2. Tell me what you got. Good.
There's still some scratching.
Great.
Yeah, still intermittent.
Okay.
That's
well, you
good.
go ahead. You go ahead and roll. I'll ask the question and I'll try to limit my comments. Who is in the backside of this draft with Mond, with Trask, with those guys? Are there anyone that you go, hey, this guy might be an NFL star in the waiting? Is there any of those guys?
I like Mond. I think he showed some promise. I think he 4-year college player, last 2 or 3 under Jimbo. I think that he has got some potential. I think he and Jimbo runs an NFL offense. I think he'll be able to not maybe start right away, but he'll be able to come in, pick up a playbook, and hit the ground running. I would be interesting to see, hey, maybe a place like Pittsburgh or Indy or something like that, where you don't have to play right away. Or is New Orleans rolling with Hill and Winston? They're going with those two. So maybe a place like that, a little gap year. I could see some of those teams making a play for him.
I caught part of the question because my feed has been butt as well. I don't know if the FCC is going to get on me, but I don't care. Basically, I think we were discussing quarterbacks that aren't, those top 5 guys, someone down the list that may surprise or be a stud. I love the 2 Texas guys. Bouchel, love is a strong word. Ehringer and Bouchel from
Ehringer's good too.
To SMU, and then I kind of like the 2 Zachs, Zach Smith at Tulsa and Zach Thomas at Appy State. They all seem pretty similar, polished, pro-style quarterbacks, and I think one of those 4 dudes could be actually pretty solid in the long run.
So, no love for Davis Mills because he seems to be gaining a lot of ground right now.
I don't get that at all. I watched that dude when he was playing. He was hurt a bunch. He moved Costello, but Costello's not that great. I think people are just in love with the measurables. But what I saw on the field, I wasn't super impressed. I can't believe he's as high as he is. I think McShay has him 6th right behind Fields or somebody, which is
the Pac-12 had a football season?
That's just what I heard. I don't know. It was in the funny pages.
I've discovered outside maybe my face is made for podcasting now. So I'm staring at the truck repairing on my. Right now we're running 100% on Verizon, not a sponsor. But come on, kick us something. We've said it 3 times now.
Well, stop being so cheap and pay for EPB.
Yeah, I think. Yes, let's move on to the next subject.
Oh, is that off limits too?
No, I seriously have EPB scheduled to come installed like next week. So, I don't have my notes with us. I had to walk away to get some signal. But I think our next subject was going to be a recap of the race. And I'm not getting on here until I hear this. I'm away from my popcorn, but I'm really excited to hear about the race. Now, there's some details we're going to leave out. Let's just start with the race and some circumstances surrounding the race.
It's my cue for a refill. I'll be right back.
Absolutely.
So, I feel like I personally am going to have enough content to fill Scott Van Pelt's bad beats, just me alone. So let me take you back before I get to the race. Let me take you back to either Thursday or Friday or Wednesday. Maybe it was Saturday. I don't know. At some point, I bet on the Twins to beat the A's. The Twins, a Major League Baseball team, were up 2 runs with 2 outs in the 10th inning. The second baseman commits an error to allow another run.
Sounds like the Braves.
So what happens next?
Shut up, Rod. He's getting muted.
They hit with the bases loaded, 2 outs, a ground ball to third. All he has to do is run to third base and touch the base. The game is over. What does he do? He throws the worst throw to first I've ever seen. It's 20 feet over his head. So I'll lose that game. Yeah. So I was like, that's just God hating me. So fast forward to Sunday. My Bet Your Nuts lock of the week was Denny Hamlin finishing the top 3. So a lot of you guys don't know about NASCAR and don't really care. But what you need to understand is their starting position or who has the best car, and if it's a good driver and you have the best car, it is put as much money on the table as you can as the race is going on, because things just don't change like that. Even when you're running in the front and there's a wreck, it doesn't affect you much. So Denny Hamlin, not even arguably one of the top 2 drivers in NASCAR, has the best car. He's riding up front. There's a huge crash. He survives. It's Talladega. So they know this track off and on. He's in first place. He goes to pit. So nobody really in front of him. He speeds in the pit row and gets docked a lap.
So no one's in front of him.
Right. I went from in first, sitting pretty. I'm ready to spend my money I make. He gets docked a lap for speeding, and then in the pit, they committed penalty to get docked another lap. I'm go from counting my money to, well, I just lost this bet that was uncomfortable to lose, to say the least. And to put this into other sports perspective, I was thinking of analogies. This is like having 10 seconds on the clock. You're up 1, and Steph Curry gets fouled to shoot free throws. He gets to shoot a 1-and-1. Not only does he miss the front of a 1-on-1, he then goes over the back of the rebounder, commits a foul, and then gets 2 technicals and thrown out of the game. That's how improv. Like, it's just.
That's a super thorough analogy. I probably could have gone with like John Van de Velde, the French dude at the Masters. Who
yes,
8 years ago.
It is.
I like your analogy as well.
It is just like, are you kidding me? And y'all know me. I can sometimes be a little cocky, and and so I was ready to brag about how smart I was and how good my bet was, and then sports God just came and took it all away.
The group text went silent for quite a while. I mean,
I was so pissed.
Not only was it Robbie upset, but I think everybody else was like, wow, did that just happen to Robbie?
Would you have been upset like if you didn't have any money on it? Is that like, does NASCAR work that way too? Or you're like, oh, my driver lost. Oh no.
Oh, I don't have a favorite driver. It's all money based.
That's what I figured. I know some people do, like, and more power to them. Not my bag, but some people act like people do in the SEC when Tennessee or Georgia or LSU loses a football game. If their driver doesn't win or perform the way they should, and they don't even have money on it. And I am not like that, but like I said, more power to him. Passion is passion.
I mean, I probably bet on Chase Elliott the most, so I'd say he's my go-to driver. But if I don't have money on him, I mean, he can finish in last. I don't care.
My go-to driver. Love it.
Was this defined as your worst beat of the year so far?
Well, one, because I was on here guaranteeing it, and then also my cockiness level, because I wasn't even watching the Twins game. I just saw Sports Center and was like, what in the, how is this possible? Thanks, Fox Sports South and these regional cable. But anyway, but yeah, this one was up. This one was bad.
All right, guys. Well, you got your notes in front of you. What was our last subject? Because
we got trade we want to see during the draft, and then our gambling pick coming up.
All right, let's look at that trade you want to see before the draft. We got about 10 more minutes, and the signal seems to be holding up. Again, I apologize to everybody. We do have nice equipment, and we've never had to deal with this. and it's been both shows tonight has been dealing with it. But so, and we talked about a trade you'd want to see. I thought of several things, but my heart landed, and it's very right now in Atlanta. I was reading an article from the AJC today that the Falcons are openly kind of shopping Julio Jones around. Now, Julio is the face of our franchise. No other player in Atlanta, I don't even say that line is as identifiable with the Falcons in Atlanta as Julio Jones is. But if someone gives you a late first round pick for Julio Jones, Baltimore, or someone to that effect, do you not have to take that? And also, would it not be a good story to see Julio win a Super Bowl or get on a contender for his last run? So the trade I'd like to see a Julio get out and go to a contender. Raj, do you think? What do you think of that?
I mean, it could be the Bill O'Brien effect, but if DeAndre Hopkins didn't even garner a 1, I think he got a 2 at that. Ridiculous. I'd have a hard time, even though he's a freak of nature. There's a lot of miles in that body. How many years has he been in? 8.
He's 11.
11. Yeah, I mean that's and a $23 million cap hit. I mean to gamble a first round pick on that. That's a lot. Is he worthy talent-wise? Yes, he's a freak. He's a game-changing, legendary wide receiver. But I couldn't see giving a first for him. But that being said, as a Raider fan, I would love, I saw, the Raiders giving 2 number 2s for him. Similar thing, we were talking about possible trades was for Marshawn Lattimore, the corner in New Orleans, but we'll get there. But I would do what it takes to get him, but I'd have a hard time trading a 21-year-old stud, first rounder, possible stud, for a guy with that many miles.
Robbie, what would you think of Atlanta moving away from Julio?
So if you draft Pitts, which if you don't draft Pitts at 4, then just stop.
Yeah, well, first you're going to have to carry on the show without me.
Just stop being GM if you pass on Pitts at 4. So, and I heard this today about shopping Julio. If you take Pitts, aren't you saying, let's go one more run at it? Let's free Julio up on the outside. Let's keep him Ridley. Let's see what we can do with Matt Ryan's 1 or 2 more years. It makes no sense to me to trade Julio to now for a first round. Well, one, I'm in complete agreement with Raj. If they get a first round pick for Julio, as great as he is, but at his age, I will fall out of my chair because, Bill O'Brien's not in NFL anymore. He's not making trades, and so I would say. But I draft Pitts. I keep the gang together and see if we can run it back one more year. And the only thing would be say, hey, we because you look, Carolina's starting over, New Orleans is starting over, Tampa, yes, they just won the Super Bowl, but they're old again. You got to think if you're Atlanta, that division's winnable.
Outside of Tampa, I think, and sneakily, I do like the Mike Davis sign at running back. So I think it's a very limited window, Robbie. I think you're right. I think it's a 1, maybe 2-year window if you go that way, but I could see that.
Hey, they learned their lesson the hard way. They got a value guy for not much money instead of paying a shorty like Devontae Freeman, overpaying him, a running back, and hamstringing their cap situation. They got a productive dude and not for a ton of money. So as far as I know, but I thought that was a great signing.
Yeah. Robbie, what's your pick?
So I'm just intrigued. I want New England to move up with Detroit and pick Fields, and I want to see the Cam, because they've got their offense designed for Cam Newton, and have Cam start it, have Fields finish it, and see what it makes. Bill Belichick's, he's what, 69-ish?
He's 2 years younger than Saban, I think.
He's okay, so he's 60. Let's just put it this way. He's only got a few years left. He's going for it. He does not like that Brady has one more than him. So I'm interested to see what they do. I hope they go crazy and go all in for the next this draft in the next few years and see what they can do.
I love that. I absolutely love that. I would not be shocked to see that happen. Roger, what do you? I mean, that's my favorite one, Robbie. I mean, I almost pitched that. They come up to 4 with the Falcons just so the Falcons get trade out, but I love that.
One thing Robbie makes a great point is, I think it's pretty evident, even though he'll never admit it, that Bill Belichick's ego is about as fragile as, a wine glass. He doesn't like that not only Tom Brady has more, but obviously that Tom Brady not only did it without him, but did it with basically like a hard drinking, big talking, antithesis of a coach in Bruce Arians. So it was kind of funny to me when that did go down. You can't tarnish his legacy, but it gives people like Stephen A. Smith something to talk about, or maybe us. As for trades, I said it before, maybe it's too convenient, but Jimmy G to New England, San Francisco can get even more picks, a 3rd and a 4th, and that's a team that already is stacked on defense. They don't need a ton. I also said Marshawn Lattimore. I know there's a contract situation, the outstanding corner in New Orleans. Hopefully, of course, this is home picking, but to the Raiders. And I did see that also. He'd probably be worth a 2nd and a 3rd, or maybe a 2nd year and next year. But I'm not familiar with how much he's due paid, because I think I said this earlier. I can't remember the last free agent cornerback that got paid that has done awesome, aside from Jalen Ramsey. Now, but when he was picked up, he wasn't paid. And then the other thing is, I think we're going to see some stud receivers dealt. Julio Jones, Allen Robinson is not thrilled with the Bears. If Trubisky was my quarterback, I would not be thrilled too. And Dalton, I think, yeah, kind of tough in a contract year to make that money. Also, ODB, he's a guy that I don't think has the value that people say. I think he's overhyped in terms of production on the field. More mouth than stats or numbers. Still valuable player that would command a pretty good price. So I think we'll see a stud receiver dealt on draft day, a proven receiver.
All right, guys. Well, first of all, thank you for sticking in, everybody. We had 6 viewers. I didn't do all that and stay with us. Whoever you 6 are, if you will shoot me a message, the first River City merch I got some stickers. If you stay through that mess, you deserve something. And again, we apologize. But I think it was a decent show, guys. And we'll probably skip on over the thumbs up, thumbs down, but there's no skipping Bet Your Nuts. So,
we're going to make, for all those people that stuck with us, we're going to make it up for them in this segment. We're going to make them some money.
So all 4 of you that are still there, we're going to make you money. And we're going to start. Who wants to go first, Robbie or Raj?
I'll go first because Rob is a closer when it comes to gambling. I actually had tonight. Don't ask me why. I bet it before. Right now it's 0-0 in the 3rd inning, so it's not looking great. But I had the over on Seattle and Houston at 5.5 runs. I thought that will, still will. You can still, depending on where you are, bet MGM. You can still bet on those types of things, depending on your state or offshore. Not that we, condone or encourage gambling. But yeah, I'm going the over 5.5 on Tuesday, April 27th, Seattle and Houston.
All right. Well, I'm going to give a couple, and then Robbie, you're going to close this out. I'm going to give my nuts pick, and you can go to DraftKings and find these right now. I am betting my nuts that Kyle Pitts at -200 goes in the top 5 position. If he goes after 4th, we're canceling the show. Randall's leaving. Somebody's sending him. I'm becoming a Titan fan. So, Kyle Pitts, -200. But here's my real pick. It's a long shot. Plus 2,000. Plus 2,000 on DraftKings. That Caleb Farley is the first cornerback taken over Horn, over Patrick Surtain. I know there's a couple of teams that love Farley. If it's going to be a shocker of the draft, plus 2,000, it's Caleb Farley going as the first cornerback off the board. So,
he's the latest and greatest trend, man. People are forgetting about a back injury, but yeah, he's all the hype right now. He's the number 1 top name in defensive backfield. Plus 2,000. Wow. Yeah, I think that's worth it.
And I'm also betting over under is he's taken before pick 21.5. I think that's at -140. I'm also betting he's my favorite cornerback in the class. I like Surtain. I like him more than J.C. Horn. So,
hey, don't call him junior, by the way. You call him the second.
Just second.
Yeah, he stressed that.
All right. I'm calling Goose Gossett out of the bullpen. It's Mariano Rivera. It is. Who's a Dodger good closer?
They don't have one.
Oh,
Kenley Jansen.
I'm calling Craig Kimball out of the bullpen.
All right. So this is where experience comes into play. The best time to bet college basketball is in November and December, while Vegas is obsessed with the NFL and college football.
How'd that work last year, ball fans? Sorry.
Hey, we were I believe started 10-0, so I think I was 10-0 on the spreads, and then things as it progressed, as Vegas caught up, it went downhill.
Oh, I thought you meant for the future, like to bet in November and December.
Oh yeah, no. Bet those games where Vegas.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I'm with you there.
So as the sports world is focused on the NFL draft Thursday night, we have the Tampa Bay Lightning sitting there at home, -162. It is an empty out the cupboard, whatever you can afford to bet on them. They are perennial powerhouse playing the Dallas Stars. Hell, Dallas doesn't even care about the hockey team with the NFL draft going on. No one's going to care. They can be embarrassed. That's the bet your nuts pick. Tampa Bay Lightning Thursday night. I believe they start at 7 on the eve of with the backdrop of the NFL draft. You're getting all your parlays Randall's talked about. Vegas is paying attention to that. Sneak it in.
Done.
That actually makes sense, Robbie.
He seems surprised. Isn't he your attorney too?
So, a couple of facts we've learned from tonight's show. Randall's upgrading the internet because he's got too much stuff on home internet to business internet. 2, Randall's beginning to look a little bit like Santa Claus. And 3, Ron's got the same broken crap at his house because his didn't work either.
Yeah, I switched from my phone to my computer and it got better, but now I can't research live.
Yeah.
But where I live in the suburbs, we don't have that acronym, those 3 letters, which is one of the fastest in the country. They actually call it Gig City, and even my buddies that live out in the Bay Area chuckled at that, but researched it and found it to be true. We don't have that yet. So I'm stuck on COMCAST, which is ASS. Yeah, once I switched to my computer, it was much better. And my computer sucks. Work issue. So, yeah, I need to figure something out.
Yeah. Rob, closing thoughts.
I mean, it's NFL draft week. This is where hope is eternal, and everyone. Well, I'll say if the Titans don't draft an edge rusher, then just stop. Like we have a great offense, but can't rush the quarterback to save our lives, and can't let Mahomes sit back there and be comfortable. Tampa taught us that you put pressure on them, you can beat them. So it's edge rusher, edge rusher, maybe a little quarterback help, but we've got the offense, we've got the receivers, got the best running back in the league. Tannehill's more than serviceable, so yeah, let's get some edge rushers and some defense.
Hey, Randall, what time are we live Thursday for the NFL draft show?
Here at 7:30 Eastern.
7:30.
And we will, the plan is to go to 10. But we might take a break for 15 minutes here or there. We might have to reset, but we'll be here with breaking news.
Right.
Go ahead.
Well, we can talk about this when we get off. I just had a quick thought, but it's more maintenance and stuff like that.
Okay.
Thanks for watching, everybody.
Phoebe says goodbye.
Great. Raj, what do you got to finish up besides that?
Phoebe gives the paws up. She's a personal space invader. She just snorted at me. But yeah, man, I can't wait for the draft. As a Raider fan, it's the highlight of our year, and then also simultaneously the low light of our year afterwards.
Yeah, it's what the next activity after Thursday is fantasy football draft. I mean, that's our next one.
Trevor Lawrence, #1 overall.
So,
all
right. Thank you, everybody that put up with us. I'm sorry, guys. I'll start bombing you with questions for next year in a little bit. And we made it through it. And if we made it through tonight, we're going to be okay.
Hey, Randall, I think the dishwasher is done behind you, so just FYI.
That's the nicest thing in my house. It's my first dishwasher. All right, y'all. Thank you. See y'all.
Adios.